For over 2 centuries, the high desert terrain of Utah's Uinta Basin has harbored one of the most persistent, scientifically monitored anomalies in modern history. At the epicenter of this regional phenomenon lies Skinwalker Ranch, a 512-acre property where broad-spectrum radio spikes, unexplained aerial phenomena, and localized magnetic fluctuations have drawn geophysicists, military defense contractors, and aerospace engineers. While public attention historically focused on skyward monitoring, property owner Brandon Fugal and chief scientist Dr. Travis Taylor turned their diagnostic arrays directly toward the interior of the towering sandstone formation known as the Mesa. For years, ground-penetrating radar sweeps, seismic reflection arrays, and cosmic ray muon tomography repeatedly revealed physical anomalies hidden over 50 feet inside the sandstone cliff. The data did not outline a typical, irregular water-carved limestone cavern or natural geological fault. Instead, the subsurface returns mapped a precise linear horizontal corridor running parallel to the cliff face, a subterranean void showing distinct structural symmetry and engineered dimensions. Previous attempts to drill vertically into this hidden vault from the top of the mesa encountered unprecedented physical resistance. Diamond-tipped tungsten carbide bits engineered to slice through solid granite repeatedly sheared off, bound up, or suffered extreme thermal degradation at depth. Core samples flushed back to the surface yielded anomalous material, micro-thin silica shards, heat-resistant engineered ceramics, and microscopic metallic alloy flakes that matched no known commercial drilling tool. Recognizing that vertical drilling was encountering a reinforced upper barrier, project directors authorized a targeted horizontal excavation along the lower ridge debris. Using heavy excavation equipment under continuous radiological and broad-spectrum radiofrequency monitoring, crews carefully removed thousands of tons of fallen sandstone talus from the cliff base. The moment the final obstruction of crushed rock was dragged clear of the lower cliff wall, site diagnostic arrays logged a massive, localized broadcast surge centered precisely on the 1.6 GHz radio frequency, the exact frequency repeatedly tied to the ranch's most severe technological disruptions and physical phenomena. Simultaneously, environmental sensors registered a dramatic atmospheric shift, while outdoor high desert temperatures hovered near 90 degrees Fahrenheit, a chilling draft carrying a sharp, metallic odor resembling concentrated ozone and ionized copper began issuing continuously from the newly exposed fissure. Clearing away the remaining stone face revealed a square-cut portal penetrating directly into the interior of the mountain. The interior walls showed zero evidence of hydraulic erosion or mechanical blasting. Instead, the surrounding stone exhibited smooth, uniform impact striations consistent with high-temperature laser or plasma excavation methods. A forward survey team equipped with thermal cameras, positive pressure air scrubbers, and hardwired fiber optic data tethers stepped past the broken rock threshold into total darkness. Ambient air temperatures inside the corridor immediately plummeted to 36 degrees Fahrenheit, forcing breath to condense inside their helmets. Advancing 70 feet into the horizontal shaft, handheld magnetometers registered localized magnetic field fluctuations, spiking well beyond standard baseline levels. Illuminated by high-intensity LED arrays, the corridor expanded into a massive, vitrified vault where a non-corrosive metallic bulkhead, constructed from a dense titanium nickel matrix, stood embedded directly in the far wall, confirming that unsealing the Mesa shaft had opened a reactive, engineered facility hidden deep beneath the earth. Standing before the 14-inch thick titanium nickel bulkhead inside the newly unsealed vault, the forward survey team halted all movement to perform a systematic diagnostic assessment. The high-density alloy door showed no visible hinges, locking mechanisms, or mechanical keyways, appearing to be physically fused into the vitrified sandstone matrix surrounding it. However, directly adjacent to the base of this metallic portal, resting on a flat, artificially leveled stone ledge, lay the physical discovery that would immediately send shockwaves through the surface command trailer. Illuminated by high-intensity LED arrays, the team uncovered a fully intact calcified biological specimen measuring approximately 4 feet in length. The physical structure of the entity immediately set it apart from any known terrestrial organism. It possessed an enlarged, bulbous cranial vault featuring deep lateral eye sockets, yet it lacked defined nasal cavities, external ear canals, or an open jaw structure. Radiographic scans transmitted back to the surface revealed an internal skeletal framework composed of a dense, highly flexible cartilaginous material heavily intermeshed with crystalline calcium phosphate deposits, a unique structural design capable of enduring extreme atmospheric pressures and intense gravitational stress. What shocked material scientists on the team, however, was the specimen's preserved outer dermal layer. The dark skin tissue showed zero evidence of standard organic decomposition or fossilization. Portable X-ray fluorescence spectrometers swept across the specimen confirmed that the dermal layer was physically integrated with microscopic, overlapping metallic scales composed of an ultra-pure titanium-nickel alloy matrix. This exact metallic composition matched the anomalous fragments extracted from the core drilling slurry years prior, providing direct material evidence that the entity functioned as a specialized biosynthetic interface designed to withstand intense electromagnetic fields and extreme thermal stress inside the mesa. As technicians positioned non-invasive ultrasonic sensor arrays around the ledge to map the specimen's internal structure, site monitors recorded another immediate physical reaction from the surrounding environment. Ambient air temperatures inside the subterranean vault rapidly began to climb, rising from 36 degrees to 67 degrees Fahrenheit in less than 5 minutes despite the constant operation of the team's portable cooling equipment. Concurrently, radio frequency spectrum analyzers locked onto localized energy pulses radiating directly from the specimen's cranial region, broadcasting at steady 3-second intervals precisely on the 1.6 GHz frequency band. This localized transmission was not contained within the Mesa vault. On the surface, directly above the excavation site, monitoring stations spread across the central pasture logged a simultaneous 300 nanotesla spike in local magnetic field strength. High-speed thermal cameras capturing the sky above the ridge documented a distinct optical refraction effect, a visible warping of ambient sunlight that perfectly mirrored historical atmospheric anomalies recorded during past high-strangeness incidents on the property. Inside the vault, the 1.6 GHz pulses began to synchronize with an ultra-low frequency acoustic vibration emanating directly from the fused floor beneath the team's feet. Audio diagnostic equipment recorded a persistent 19 Hz infrasound wave, a frequency known to directly interact with human neurological pathways, inducing feelings of intense nausea, spatial disorientation, and auditory pressure among the personnel inside the shaft. The accumulating empirical data proved that the specimen was not merely an inert historical artifact, but an active component of a reactive electromagnetic network triggered by the tunnel's unsealing. To stabilize the vault environment and prevent an uncontained energy feedback loop from escalating, field personnel deployed portable cryogenic containment units, rapidly dropping the microatmosphere surrounding the specimen to sub-zero temperatures. As the deep freeze process took effect, the 1.6 GHz transmissions rapidly decayed, the low-frequency acoustic vibrations faded from the stone floor, and surface-level magnetic readings across the central pasture returned to normal baseline values. With the biosynthetic specimen safely secured inside a hardened, radiation-shielded transport unit, the team turned its full attention back to the titanium bulkhead to determine how to probe the deep chamber beyond. With the biosynthetic specimen safely stabilized inside the cryogenic transport container, the research team initiated diagnostic non-destructive testing on the massive titanium-nickel bulkhead. Utilizing broad-spectrum ultrasonic reflectivity and portable gamma-ray radiography equipment, material scientists mapped the internal structure of the portal. The return scans revealed a 14-inch thick composite barrier containing internal conductive conduits filled with high-purity copper and carbon nanotube lattices. More importantly, acoustic reflection telemetry confirmed a massive, hollow structural space directly behind the door, a descending shaft angled at 25 degrees downward into the deep bedrock of the Uinta Basin. Rather than attempting an invasive breach of the reinforced bulkhead, technicians identified a narrow 6-inch gap where the base of the alloy frame met the vitrified bedrock floor. Operating under strict biohazard containment protocols, the survey team deployed a specialized microscale tracked rover equipped with multispectral thermal arrays, broad-spectrum radio frequency monitors, solid-state LiDAR, and high-definition optical lenses. The hardened unit was carefully maneuvered through the horizontal gap, descending past the threshold into the pitch-black corridor beyond. The live video feed beamed directly to the command trailer monitors revealed a dramatic, breathtaking architectural transition. The square-cut dimensions of the upper entry tunnel vanished completely. In their place stood a perfectly cylindrical, seamless conduit whose walls, floor, and arched ceiling were composed of dark, flash-fused silica. The native sandstone had been altered at extreme temperatures into a continuous obsidian-like glass sheath with zero visible joints, mortar lines, or structural supports, resembling an immense, artificially heat-molded electromagnetic energy guide designed to channel massive physical force. As the micro rover navigated down the 25-degree vitrified slope, onboard diagnostic sensors recorded thermal and magnetic gradients that defied standard geological parameters. Instead of experiencing a predictable rise in geothermal heat, ambient air temperatures plummeted continuously, passing through freezing and stabilizing at an icy 22 degrees Fahrenheit. Simultaneously, triaxial magnetometers registered localized magnetic field spikes fluctuating between 0 and 1.8 Tesla, magnetic field strengths capable of disrupting unshielded digital electronics and altering local radio propagation. 80 feet down the descending vitrified ramp, the narrow conduit opened into a massive subterranean cathedral over 120 feet in diameter. The vast chamber was anchored by 6 towering support pillars crafted from polished dark basalt, each wrapped in spiraling, continuous ribbons of an unidentified conductive alloy extending from the floor into the high domed ceiling. Arranged in a precise geometric circle around the center of the vault were 6 elevated stone pedestals, standing 4 feet above the glass floor. Mounted atop each pedestal was a titanium composite housing unit securing a multifaceted crystalline block roughly the size of a vehicle engine block. Under the rover's specialized ultraviolet illuminators, the crystalline structures exhibited brilliant internal photoluminescence, glowing with a vibrant blue-green light across the spectrum. Spectroscopic analysis off the crystalline surfaces indicated an ultra-pure synthetic silicon carbide composition infused with heavy metallic isotopes, an advanced material configuration used in high-power energy management and directed energy research. Directly beneath central pedestals, ground-penetrating acoustic sensors mapped a massive, multi-ton structural mass embedded deep within the bedrock floor, matching high-density readings previously flagged by cosmic ray muon tomography. Acoustic mapping rendered 3 distinct conduits branching outward from the main chamber, the west conduit extending toward unexcavated bluffs, the south conduit pointing directly toward the ranch's central pasture, and the deep axis, a vertical shaft descending steeply into the ancient basement rock. But before the rover could take close-range physical samples, a sudden voltage surge fried its primary control boards, dropping the video feed into static as a self-luminous blue haze formed in the air above the glowing pedestals. The unexpected electromagnetic surge that disabled the micro-rover and ignited the self-luminous blue haze above the central pedestals forced an immediate change in operational tactics. Recognizing that the lower cathedral housed a live, highly responsive energy architecture, field directors halted all active electronic probes. To safely inspect the chamber without triggering another catastrophic electrical arc, technicians unspooled a long, non-conductive fiber optic endoscope down the edge of the vitrified ramp, pairing it with an ultra-sensitive passive acoustic listening array. As the fiber optic camera reached the foot of the slope and panned slowly across the floor of the subterranean cathedral, the live monitor feed inside the command trailer revealed details that immediately transformed the investigation. The blue-green photoluminescence emitting from the synthetic silicon carbide crystals had completely faded, returning the chamber to a dormant state. However, resting near the base of the eastern basalt column, half buried under decades of fine sandstone silt, lay indisputable physical evidence of human intervention inside the vault. Stacked against the dark basalt column were several heavily reinforced aluminum transport cases and industrial-grade junction boxes bearing faded, nondescript defense contractor logistics markings. Beside these corroded cases lay severed bundles of heavy copper-shielded coaxial cables and early-generation fiber optic lines that had been routed directly toward the base of the central pedestals. Serial numbers and contractor identification codes stamped into the metal hardware matched government procurement records from the late 1980s and early 1990s, confirming that covert research entities had breached and studied this exact Mesa chamber decades before current operations began. A closer optical inspection of the left-behind hardware revealed a scene of violent, chaotic disruption. Heavy lead shielding plates meant to safeguard delicate monitoring gear lay scattered across the glass floor, diagnostic oscilloscope screens were shattered, and primary power lines plugged into the pedestals had been cleanly fused to their connectors. The copper core wires exhibited extreme heat-induced spalling and arc pitting, unmistakable material proof that the earlier research team had accidentally triggered a massive reverse current discharge from the core, destroying their equipment and forcing an emergency retreat. While camera operators documented the legacy contractor equipment, environmental sensors lowered through the conduit logged another sudden shift in atmospheric baseline parameters. The ambient temperature near the basalt pillars began rising rapidly, climbing from 22 degrees back up to 66 degrees Fahrenheit in under 10 minutes. Concurrently, the low-frequency 19 Hz acoustic hum that had caused physical distress during the initial breach ceased entirely, replaced by absolute environmental equilibrium. Magnetic field meters stabilized at standard background levels, and broad-spectrum 1.6 GHz radio emissions dropped to zero. This sudden return to environmental stability offered a crucial temporary window for action. With environmental sensors holding steady across all diagnostic channels, project directors authorized a two-person specialist team to descend the vitrified ramp on foot. Their objectives were clear: secure the disabled microrover, obtain high-resolution photographic documentation of the legacy contractor cases, and collect physical swipe samples from the arc-welded cables to analyze the exact nature of the energy discharge that had occurred inside the Mesa decades ago. Clad in non-magnetic protective suits and equipped with personal radiation shielding, the two-person specialist team descended the vitrified ramp into the silent, dark expanse of the lower cathedral. The air inside the main vault was surprisingly clean, carrying none of the harsh ozone or ionized copper fumes that had accompanied the initial breach of the upper corridor. A faint, steady current of fresh air was circulating from the mouth of the deep axis, the vertical shaft penetrating directly into the ancient bedrock beneath the Uinta Basin floor. Reaching the flat, glass-like floor, the specialist immediately moved to secure the disabled microrover. Up-close examination confirmed the severity of the electromagnetic pulse that had disabled the unit. While its high-density carbon composite chassis remained structurally intact, the rover's solid-state processing boards bore distinct, iridescent rainbow burn patterns typical of extreme inductive surge failures, and its internal lithium battery casing had suffered severe thermal swelling. Moving to the eastern basalt column, the team conducted a detailed physical inventory of the legacy contractor equipment left behind in the early 1990s. Using specialized sampling kits, the specialists took high-resolution surface swab samples from the arc-welded copper junctions and collected metallic flakes that had spalled off the aluminum transit cases during the historical energy feedback event. The physical evidence confirmed that the earlier covert research team had attempted to tap into the central pedestal arrays using high-voltage line couplers, unknowingly triggering an automated, high-energy counter-discharge from the subterranean network. As the specialists finished packing the recovered materials into radiation-shielded transport containers, an unexpected acoustic signal registered on their portable audio diagnostic monitors. Deep down inside the descending vertical shaft of the deep axis, a low, rhythmic pulsing began to reverberate through the bedrock. Operating at an ultra-low frequency between 3 and 30 Hz, these infrasonic waves propagated smoothly through the surrounding Earth, a frequency band capable of traveling hundreds of miles through solid rock without suffering significant signal attenuation. This ultra-low frequency pulsing provided definitive proof that the lower cathedral was not an isolated vault or an abandoned underground bunker. It served as an active, highly responsive node within a much larger subterranean communications and power distribution system operating deep within the Earth's crust. As the ambient energy meters on the specialist chest rigs began registering a slow, steady rise in localized capacitive charge, the team secured their gear, retrieved the damaged rover, and initiated their ascent back up the vitrified slope to safety. The physical discovery and documentation of the Mesa interior, its flash-fused silica conduits, synthetic silicon carbide nodes, biosynthetic biological entity, and legacy contractor hardware, marks a historic paradigm shift in the study of Skinwalker Ranch. For decades, public perception of the Uinta Basin anomaly remained divided between regional folklore, speculative theories, and unverified eyewitness reports. However, the recovery of engineered titanium-nickel composite alloys, vitrified sandstone pathways, and synchronized 1.6 GHz radio broadcasts permanently grounds the entire phenomenon in verifiable material science. The empirical data gathered throughout this subterranean excavation establishes several concrete, objective findings regarding the property. Engineered subterranean architecture. The Mesa is not a passive geological formation or a simple natural cave system. It houses a multi-level subterranean facility featuring heat-molded silica corridors, basalt support columns, and high-density composite bulkheads built with precise structural alignment. Biosynthetic interfaces. The 4-foot biological specimen recovered near the lower bulkhead represents an advanced biosynthetic interface. Its cartilaginous internal framework, bulbous cranial structure, and titanium nickel dermal scales indicate an entity engineered specifically to withstand intense thermal stress, atmospheric pressure, and heavy electromagnetic fields. Active environmental recalibration. Comprehensive telemetry proves that surface-level events across the ranch, including 1.6 GHz signal bursts, localized magnetic spikes exceeding 1.8 Tesla, sudden thermal drops, and atmospheric optical distortions over the central pasture are direct surface manifestations of a reactive subterranean network undergoing automated energy cycles. Prior covert operations, the recovery of corroded, lid-shielded transit cases and arc-welded coaxial lines confirms that clandestine defense contractor teams breached this lower vault in the late 1980s and early 1990s, encountering severe energy discharges that forced a chaotic emergency evacuation. Despite these extraordinary physical breakthroughs, core scientific questions remain wide open. Researchers must carefully separate verified physical artifacts from speculative interpretations. While the existence of synthetic crystalline structures, high-purity alloy matrices, and broad-spectrum electromagnetic emissions is an established material fact, the original identity of the builders, the precise operational age of the facility, and its overarching global function require deeper investigation. Scientists have yet to determine whether this deep Earth network was constructed as an ancient non-human monitoring station, an early covert defense project that escalated beyond human technical control, or an automated planetary energy architecture operating independently beneath the desert floor. Furthermore, the vertical shaft of the deep axis, extending steeply into the ancient basement rock toward depths where extreme lithospheric pressure should make open voids physically impossible, remains unexplored, due to extreme magnetic gradients and depth limitations. As multidisciplinary research teams continue to analyze the recovered alloy samples, decode the ultra-low frequency infrasound pulsing through the bedrock, and map the branching conduits, the unsealed Mesa network remains an undeniable physical reality. The investigation at Skinwalker Ranch has permanently moved beyond legend, providing clear empirical evidence of an advanced subterranean infrastructure embedded deep within the Earth. The ultimate objective facing modern science and history is no longer proving whether a secret structure exists inside the Mesa, but discovering who originally built it and what purpose it continues to serve. As research teams continue analyzing the recovered alloy samples, decoding the ultra-low frequency infrasound reverberating through the bedrock, and mapping the remaining vitrified conduits beneath the Uinta Basin, one fact stands absolute. The mystery of Skinwalker Ranch has permanently shifted into the realm of hard, verifiable science. The successful breach and unsealing of the Mesa Tunnel has provided tangible, material proof of an engineered subterranean infrastructure operating beneath the desert floor. Whether this deep Earth network serves as an ancient non-human installation, a covert defense project that escalated beyond human control, or an active planetary energy node, the physical evidence recovered inside the volcano can no longer be ignored. The structural bulkheads are open, the diagnostic arrays are active, and the empirical record is now open to the world. If you want to stay on the front lines of this investigation as new isotopic lab results, thermal imaging, and subsurface telemetry are revealed, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on all notifications so you never miss a breakdown. What do you think is powering the 1.6 gigahertz transmissions deep inside the Mesa, and who originally constructed this subterranean vault? Drop your theories and technical thoughts in the comments below, and we will see you in the next episode.